In the plush neighborhood of Aspen Ridge, there was no shortage of nannies, tutors, and housekeepers. But none of them lasted more than a few months with the billionaire twins, Charlie and Claire. Despite their wealth, their parents, David and Jessica Sinclair, couldn't manage to keep a stable household. The twins were a terror. At just 5 years old, they had already mastered the art of manipulation. No one could stand them, not even their own parents. They would throw tantrums if things didn't go their way, break toys on purpose just to see someone react, and even went so far as to terrorize the other children in their private school. David and Jessica were tired, overworked, and mostly absent, relying on nannies to keep the peace. But each nanny they hired quit after only a few weeks. They all complained that the twins were uncontrollable, their behavior impossible to manage. "Why don't they listen?" Jessica would ask, pulling at her hair after another failed attempt to communicate with her children. David, always the pragmatist, had begun to think that maybe the problem wasn't the nannies. Maybe it was the children. But then, as if by fate, one woman walked into their lives. Her name was Lydia. She wasn't like the other nannies. She wasn't interested in trying to win their approval or making the children like her. She wasn't there to coddle them either. Lydia was firm, no-nonsense, and blunt, with an unshakable demeanor. On her first day, she walked into the Sinclair household and immediately set boundaries. "I don't care if you're David Sinclair's children. In this house, we follow rules," she said to Charlie and Claire, staring them down as though they were any other children. The twins, who were used to being treated like royalty, instantly resented her. They made it their mission to get Lydia to quit. They would hide her shoes, break her glasses, and even smear peanut butter on the walls, all in an attempt to see her crack. But to their surprise, Lydia didn't flinch. "Nice try," she would say, cleaning up after them without a hint of anger. The twins were perplexed. They had never met anyone like her. Days turned into weeks, and slowly but surely, Lydia started to make headway. She didn't give in to their tantrums or threats. Instead, she would give them a choice: behave or go to your room for a timeout. But Lydia wasn't just about discipline. She understood something about the twins that no one else had before. She knew that underneath their tantrums and chaos was a deeper need, a need for attention, love, and stability. She started to change the dynamic in the house. Every morning, instead of letting the twins sit in front of the TV all day, she would take them on little excursions, to the park, to art classes, even to a library where they learned how to choose books and read them together. "Reading? You want me to read?" "I don't want to," Charlie protested one day. "Fine, you don't have to," Lydia replied calmly, picking up a book for herself. "But I'll be reading." That made all the difference. Watching Lydia be so calm, so composed, was mesmerizing to the twins. They couldn't understand how someone could be so unshaken by their tricks. Slowly they started to soften, just a little bit. As the weeks passed, Lydia's presence in their lives became a stabilizing force. She wasn't trying to be their best friend, nor was she attempting to replace their mother. She was simply there, day after day, maintaining a constant presence in their world of unpredictability. Jessica, who was still largely absent, began to notice a change in the twins. They were quieter, more respectful. They started to come to her with their problems rather than acting out. But even with all the improvements, Jessica couldn't help but feel threatened by Lydia's influence. One day, when Jessica returned home early from a business meeting, she found Lydia sitting at the kitchen table, reading through some paperwork. "What are you doing here?" Jessica asked, a little too sharply. Lydia looked up from her papers, unfazed. "I'm just preparing the twins' schedules for the next week. They're doing well. They're progressing. It's a good thing, Jessica." But Jessica wasn't ready to hear it. Her pride had been hurt. Lydia wasn't supposed to become the authoritative figure in their home. That role was supposed to be Jessica's. She had always been the one in control of everything, from the children's education to their upbringing. Yet here was Lydia, a woman who had only been in their lives for a few months, wielding more influence than she was comfortable with. You think you know better than me? Jessica asked, her voice low but sharp. Lydia didn't flinch. No, I'm just doing what needs to be done. You can do whatever you want with your kids, Jessica, but right now, I'm the one who's here. I'm the one who's doing work. Jessica felt a sharp pang of guilt, but her pride refused to let her acknowledge it. Instead, she turned on her heels and stormed out of the kitchen. Later that night, Jessica confronted David about Lydia. She accused her of undermining their parenting, of taking over the household. David, exhausted from the constant tension, didn't know what to say. He had seen a difference in the twins. He had seen it for himself. But now, things were getting complicated. You can't just fire her. Not after everything she's done for the kids, David said, his voice quieter than usual. We need her. But Jessica wasn't ready to admit that. Not yet. The real test came when Charlie and Claire got into a fight at school, pushing one of their classmates into a puddle. They had been caught on camera, and the video quickly went viral. The school called David and Jessica in for an emergency meeting. When they arrived, the principal was sitting with the children, visibly shaken by the incident. We've had enough of this behavior, the principal said. If this doesn't stop, we may have to expel them. I'm sorry, but we cannot continue to allow this behavior to be ignored. David and Jessica were horrified, but there was something else. They both knew deep down that they couldn't handle this alone anymore. They needed help, and not just from anyone. They needed Lydia. When they arrived home that night, Jessica turned to Lydia, who had been keeping an eye on the twins while they were at school. You were right, Jessica said, swallowing her pride. We need you. Please help us with this. We can't do it without you. Lydia nodded calmly, her eyes meeting Jessica's for the first time without judgment. I'll do what I can. But you need to understand, this isn't just about controlling them. It's about changing the way they think. It's about showing them how to be good people. The next day, Lydia took the twins aside and sat them down. Do you understand what you did? She asked, her voice calm but firm. Charlie and Claire looked at each other, clearly confused. We didn't mean to, Claire mumbled. I know you didn't. But now you need to learn that actions have consequences. What you did hurt someone, and that's not okay. The twins, for the first time in their lives, were forced to face the consequences of their behavior. Lydia didn't yell or scold them. Instead, she made them reflect on what they had done, helping them learn from their mistake. It wasn't easy, but over the course of the following weeks, Lydia helped them transform in ways no one thought possible. The change in Charlie and Claire was nothing short of miraculous. They went from being entitled and spoiled to more empathetic, kinder children. They learned the value of respect, discipline, and love. Lydia had done the impossible. She had managed to reach the twins when no one else could. Jessica and David, who had been at odds with each other over Lydia's presence in their lives, found themselves united in their gratitude. They no longer felt threatened by Lydia. Instead, they understood that she had done what they couldn't. She had brought their children back from the brink. On the day that Lydia announced she would be leaving for another job, the twins were devastated. They had grown attached to her in a way they hadn't with anyone else. They begged her to stay, but Lydia knew it was time for her to move on. You're ready, she said softly, ruffling their hair one last time. You'll be okay. You have everything you need. Now it's up to you to keep going. As she walked out of the Sinclair mansion for the last time, she knew she had done more than just care for the children. She had given them a future, a chance at becoming the people they were meant to be. They begged her to stay, but Lydia knew it was time for her to move on. "You're ready," she said softly, ruffling their hair one last time. "You'll be